Hello, everybody. I'm Bhavna, and I'm really grateful and happy to be a part of Naukri Campus Expert Speak. Well, I trust all of you are doing well, and indeed, you're ready to rock on for this entire conversation that we're going to have today. To start off with, I would really like to know how many of you think that hard work alone is going to take you places? I don't think it is the right time for us to discuss about hard work, right? When the age is moving towards smart work. Well, this is one of the traits that I really like, Gen Z. Well, let's begin the session with something that people do not directly tell you what should be done or what could be done at the workplace and what needn't be done at the workplace to have a get good career. Let me just share. All right. I'm certain that all of you are able to see my screen. And here well, to begin with, what is it that nobody tells you about your first job? What are these unwritten rules of work life? Now, when I say unwritten rules of work life, so why should there be anything unwritten? If there's a rule, don't we expect them to be a little more concrete, a little more, um, a little more procedure to it? That's the kind of expectation that all of us have, right? Then there are a certain set of things that are unsaid at the workplace, especially at the workplace. Why are they unsaid or unwritten? These are more like the fillers in the policies. I'm sure all of you, I mean, if you're a first time employee or you've got into a job recently, you would know that initially on during your onboarding time, they give you a small kit which also has a book called as the HR handbook or an employee code book or an employee handbook, yeah, basically, right? Doesn't that have different policies by the HR, different do's and don'ts, including your dress code, including your timings and the flexibility or no flexibility? But I mean, is predetermined, is already set in the book, right? Now, what is it that is unsaid? Everything that you follow, apart from whatever is there in that handbook, are those things that can be termed as unwritten rules of your work life, isn't it? Now, why in that case these are like the fillers, the fillers in that entire handbook, which doesn't really get there. No, these basic rules which are not told to you directly are also those very crucial things that actually influence your workplace or influence your career progression. Now, these also establish the kind of behavioral norms, okay? And these are also based on existing behavioral norms in organization. It's what we call the fabric, right? The fabric of an organization or the culture of an organization. That's the breathing entity that you're dealing with, right? And these are also in a way it establishes the norms, and it also manages the social dynamics of the place. And why are these crucial? Why are these important for us to know? It is important for us to know because it shapes the kind of culture that we belong to, determines whether you or me or anyone else as an employee is fit to be a part of that organization or not, right? And it's also very much essential for the kind of success or progress or the promotions that we would like to get at the work. Now, shall we quickly delve into what sets you apart when you get to workplace, or for those who are looking at getting into a job, in your final years now, I think this is one of the right ways to begin with before you begin. All right. Now, how can we unlock the secrets at a workplace? Now, first of all, are there any secrets? Well, of course, there are several. And when we are talking about these unwritten rules, there are unspoken secrets or secrets that is almost like an open secret as well. Now, what are these secrets? They're also challenges, right? For us to have a kind of a success at the workplace, these also can be termed as challenges. How do we unlock these? Of course, how, if I can term it better, how do we get into that success more workplace? It's generally by having mindset. We're generally confused, right? When we enter the organization for the first time, it's massive, so much happening. It's a lot of bling everywhere. To really do a vibe check when we enter, a similar check, something that you require in the first week or the first 30 days of you entering into any corporate. Now, during 30 days or the first month of you being there is when you really get to know about the culture and when they get to kind of understand where you are at. Now, for this, it's also essential to just open with an open mind and bigger perspective and to work, right? It also requires learning. And we will also get to the other or cheat sheets to grow or success in, right? These are the hidden. This is the hidden of any culture. The which determines your success rate at any organization. Now let's quickly get into the actual part. How to not just survive but also to thrive at a workplace. And you must be wondering, why does this talk even matter, right? This talk is very well fitting into where you are currently in your life. Now, you might be in the pre-final year or the final year or just now gotten into a job. Don't we all need a mentor who we can rely on, who always has our back? Well, some of us the opportunity to interact with such mentors, good souls. Some of us, or most of us, in fact, didn't get that opportunity. At the right time, at least, we get the opportunity. Now, how about having a mentor and this platform where you can leverage on what does it take for you to be there, to level up, to really glow up, right? And that's why we are having this talk or this conversation, although one-sided at this, right? Now, the bridge between campus and corporate, right? Basically, it is till now either on your family side or in schools and colleges, you have been handheld during your journey to whatever destination or goal that you're supposed to reach. And you've reached here, right? You've always been protected, and rightly so. But then, when we're talking about the big, wide, wild world, right? It's an ocean out there. And we're all small fishes swimming in the pond. Now, how do we get from the pond or the lake to the ocean? Right? This is exactly what we need to know to survive. And this is what is going to take a level of thriving at the place. Now, this talk could be that bridge that you can cross, a part of your academic learning or beyond academic learning, right? Connecting this academic learning to a professional place, what it demands of you, so that it can actually foster a better belongingness at your workplace, right? So this is one of the things that I would really want to understand before we begin on this journey, right? Now, something that's much awaited, right? Um, we've all learned things, a lot of, we still abide by a lot of rules, isn't it? Sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes really constricting. But there are certain rules or thumb rules that when we follow, there's definitely going to be success. And of course, success can be determined or defined as different things by different people and at different points in time in life as well. But right now, I think success, it can be something that's more viable as an option that you feel more comfortable to be with, and you have what is it that you need and much more. Well, one thing I would like to, discuss is that your degree is something that helped you till the place that you are right now. And it is also something that is going to get you a job, at least your first job. But do you know what keeps you there? What keep alive in the workplace? It's your attitude. It's your behavior. It's what you do there. It's what you bring to the table that sets you apart, right? Now, come on. A lot of people have a lot of perception about Gen Z. Some right, some wrong, some midway, some a lot of gray areas, right? Because this is the first time that we are dealing with so many people from your generation at once at the workplace. Now, the workplace is having a lot of layers. We have boomers, we have Gen Z, we have millennials, we have now your generation, Gen Z. How do you expect everybody to together in this kind of a multicultural, multi-dimensional, multi-generational organization? It sure is difficult, right? Because there have been times where people don't understand you and vice versa. Now, your attitude and why is it essential in such a scenario is because the perception that you put into other people's mind is based on the kind of vibe that you cross, is based on the kind of attitude that you show. It's also on how you show up in situations, in circumstances, and every single day at work, right? Your attitude defines you. There's again a saying that goes like this: before you enter a room and introduce yourself, before you enter a room and introduce yourself, your energy speaks for you. Now, can we use the kind of energy that we have and execute that, right, to showcase something that's bigger, that's better, that's a better version of ourselves, or to show actually our authentic selves? This defines your attitude. This is what you bring to the table. And this is exactly how you contribute well to the growth, right? When we're talking about Gen Z, the general perception that people have is job changes, they don't have patience, they don't have attention span, work ethics, they don't even know how to communicate, blah, 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 so many other things like this, correct? Now, with these perceptions, if somebody is already present at an organization and creating a culture, do you think that you will be able to fit in? I doubt so. So it's not just about the attitude of the Gen Z, it's also about the organization and the very living fabric as people out there to adapt themselves to fit or to embrace the influx of Gen Z. Although not everything might be true, in certain cases, these are the things that come across about Gen Z at the workplace. And they are true in certain cases. I'm sure you would agree, right? Now, how is it that, you build a different perception? There are a lot of positive traits in Gen Zers as I see them, as I see them. I see them day in and day out. When I interact with them, I find them extremely, open to new ideas. They're highly curious. That's why I probably have lesser span of concentration. Now, when we balance the curiosity and open mind and have a better synergy in terms of focus, then we have a deadly combination, right? What perception about Gen Zers not being able to communicate properly? Of course, all of us use jargons. Now, communication is I would really want to dwell into a little further in this discussion. But then having being brought into this world in this digital world, and you are from the time you were born, you've been digital friendly. So you take to digital means just like a fish takes to water. Now, that is something that we envy you. And that's the attitude that we really love in you. Now, can we cultivate this a little more? Of course, yes. But then there's a downside to it. There's so much of fashion and so much of information out there. There's so much of data out there. Do you know how to how to discriminate, or do you have the discretion ability to see what fits you at that time for that problem or not? Maybe that is something that you can develop, right? That is something that you can develop as an attitude. Curiosity, open-mindedness, that mindset, right? I'm sure you have that. And that is what is going to keep you there at the top. And this digital communications, that's the channel that you can harness upon because nobody else is as digital friendly as you guys are. And for flexibility as well, workplace. That's a beautiful option. That's a beautiful energy that actually bring into the workplace. Not many people agree to that. Now, when we're talking about, a lot of people look at as laziness. I, on the other hand, look at that as setting your boundaries. Essential, right? It's very much essential. Now, what you call work balance is the delicate, fine thread, right? Flexibility falls in that range. Although very thin, it still falls in that range. You will have to develop the kind of behavior or your actions have to meet that energy that you showcase, where your flexibility comes across as a strength and not as something that you put a no. Of course, it's an art to say no, and how you say it will matter more. And that's something that a lot of people from the other generations haven't learned much as you. Although I appreciate that, the art of saying no cannot happen all the time. So this flexibility come into picture all the time. When you stand for yourself and your team, work that you've agreed to, flexibility takes the backstage, right? And that's the kind of attitude that you're hired for. Okay. And I know that Gen Zers look for more meaningful connections or more meaning work, which is beautiful because the earlier generations actually didn't have so much of an idea about a meaningful generation or a purposeful work. You guys, that exactly the way it is supposed to. I've seen you guys align the values of an organization to your values and see if they're aligned. I've seen how a purpose driven organization entices you more, something that pays you really well. A cause drives you better and in a bigger way than something that demands too much out of you. You're ready to put in more effort there, right? So look for companies, and companies also look for you where they have the right alignment with you. Alignment again is something that is possible only when you have the right kind of attitude towards work, towards the workplace, to fellow beings there, and of course the rules, right? Moving on, we have rule number 2. Everybody talks about communication. Everybody knows that it's a soul. And what is it that you don't know about it? Right? What is it that defines you as you are? We spoke about energy early on. Now, your communication is all about the energy that you put out into the world, right? It's all about the verbal, non-verbal, behavioral, said, unsaid communication at your workplace. And you know what? The most important thing is the ability or the art of how you can listen to people during a conversation. Now, you know why Gen Z people are a better fit? Because you don't have to be taught about active listening. A lot of your people actually come with that empathetic ear. Sometimes what we need is probably a gentle ear, a listening ear, a patient ear, and not solutions thrust on us as advices or recommendations, right? So we look forward to people who can hold space for us when needed without being judgmental. Don't we all need that? And don't you think that that's extremely powerful when it comes to communication by not communicating during that time? Whereas communication is powerful in more ways than one. It's about how clear, concise, and with the kind of confidence that you actually put your ideas forth. And I think Gen Z that way is very clear about the kind of feelings that they can express. Now, your feelings come across or come out as the body language that you showcase, the non-verbal signs that you show. At the workplace, of course, you'll have to fine-tune that a little bit more, right? Your body language, your verbal, non-verbal, listening, said, unsaid, all these things make a huge impact and define who you're seen as. So this develops a perspective about you to others and also sets the tone for the rest of your career journey at that place. Now, when it comes to communication, it's also about networking. Have you heard of this cliched line called "Your network is your net worth"? Well, it's true. You know, network is not about just going and connecting with people. It's also about building a relationship, building a meaningful relationship at work. It's not about being pally-pally with people. It's about building an allyship at work. It's not about asking them for help or them being a standby. It is about building that connection so that you can be of help to them. They need it. And of course, it's an unsaid thing that they would do the same for you, right? This network, nobody tells you that you'll have to build this. And nobody teaches you how to build this. It is your attitude that gets you to that place. It's your communication or your interpersonal skills that get you to that next level. So it's essential that we all level up. It's essential that we all start slaying, right? It's about small actions that you bring to the that develops bigger perspective or perception about you, right? It defines your reputation. It invites people to talk to you. You start having influence on people, which in other words can also be inspiring and can create or impact a lot of lives. And just imagine the kind of power that you will be wielding by doing all this. Right, for which I think it is also essential for you to start asking the right kind of questions during meetings. Be a little more proactive, take initiative. Somebody who's seen I'm being dynamic, it's okay to be an introvert. And you can, introverts are, I read somewhere that introverts are better managers and sometimes even great leaders, in fact. That introverts are those people who actually think so much and come up with some of the brightest ideas. Now, communication is not just about going about and talking to people and building different groups. It's also about being seen. That visibility is essential. That visibility comes through your work. That visibility comes through meeting deadlines. That visibility comes through asking thoughtful questions. That visibility comes through being aware of what's happening around you and within you so that you can have better actions, right? It's also about how adaptable you are to situations, to changes, and to initiatives or to things that come your way, right? Now, and communication is something that people can go on and on and on for hours. It's all about what's on mind being expressed in a way that is clearly and easily understood by somebody who is on the other side or a group of people who are on the other side, right? As simple as that and as complicated as that. Gen Z, in fact, you have a way with words. Of course, we all are used to a kind of email etiquette, right? One-liners. It goes method in a very, very methodical way, right? You might be wondering why FYI or FIA is an acceptable norm. BRB is an acceptable norm. Why is it that, probably IDK or IYK is not an accepted norm. Well, probably in days to come, maybe it would be an accepted norm. But until then, it's clear, concise, and to the point communication that is expected of you. And of course, the same thing from the rest of the group as well, the other generations. Right? Now, when we're talking about communications, there's one more thing. Is it always about being proactive, being communicative? No, it's about what information we get. How do we gather? How do we understand that? What do we accept out of that? And what is it that you plan accordingly? Right? That also comes into the bigger gamut of communication. Okay. Moving on. We have rule number 3. Growth isn't always vertical. Do you think that till now you've had a linear growth path? Of course not. We've all had our sinusoidal waves, right? Like, bounce, crest and trough. Because that's the way life is. That's the way things work. Now, this world that we live in is called as the VUCA world. It's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And you those set of people who have a little bit of trouble when it comes to ambiguity because you actually expect clear steps. I'd be wrong. I'm talking about probably a certain set of people, your generation as well. But then that's the general idea that people have about you, right? Maybe some perception that we'll also have to learn and change in the coming days. Well, for now, it's about getting the right kind of feedback or giving the right kind of feedback as well, right? And this happens to be one of the key things about growth, acceptance, that there's so much more that I can do, so much more that I can grow or expand to. And growth is never comfortable. In fact, growth happens outside that realm comfort zone. And that's how you push the boundaries of comfort zone, go into the next horizon, and then you see that there's a bigger growth. That's how you progress. That's how you see bigger success. That's how you stay in the game for a longer period of time. Now, why am I saying that, growth is not linear or not vertical? Because a lot of companies don't even have the kind of hierarchies that we used to earlier. It's very fluid. You show me the result and I promote you. Simple, right? In that case, what do you do? Do you know that there are IJPs in almost all organizations, which is called as internal job postings? How about learning a different How about learning something new, being curious and open-minded to learning new, communicative and telling your peers, your supervisors, your people who to you to help you with something that you don't know and they probably might. Isn't that growth? Isn't that going in for growth? Right? It's about sometimes you have rapidness. Sometimes there's stagnation. Sometimes there are even setbacks. Sometimes you are propelled in a different direction. There are detours, unavoidable sometimes, right? Unexpected. And there are times when you have exponential progress, exponential growth. Yeah, this actually reminds me of a book that I recently came across, a book called Rage by, I think, David Epstein. And he talks about how being a generalist helps you move forward with ease in a world which is niche oriented. Now, if I have to explain in simpler terms, it's about everybody going for the specialization, everybody going in for a specialization within a specialization, a niche skill that they develop, which in the long run might not work out for you. In the long run, it is about I know a bit of everything and I'm really good at one thing. You must have heard of this statement called, jack of all, master of none. It's an old. Now, I would say jack of all, but master of one. It's a that we develop a habit to know a little bit at least about everything that is there in the gamut at the workplace or otherwise, and see how best we can make use of it. Each learning is only going to help you. It's only going to improve your knowledge. It's only going to expand your horizon. If not today, some other time it might come into handy. Yeah. So growth. Don't think of growth as today you're a trainee, today you're an intern, tomorrow you're going to be a software engineer, and then a senior software engineer, probably a module lead and team lead, manager and things like that. It might not work that way. Think about growth as something that you know what's happening is to end to end and where I fit in that bigger scheme of things. Understanding the whole and not just a part of it. That will give you a different perspective, a different realm that will open up. That, my dear, is also growth. And these, when I was talking to IJPs are open in different organizations at different points in time, depending on the circumstance. And if you have developed a particular skill which is suitable for a different for you to be in a different project, then there are all chances that you might be picked up, or you can actually apply for that role. So it's easier for you to travel from project to project and learn different things along the way in your career journey. And it's highly interesting, although challenging, right? So again, I'm also reminded of a book by Simon Sinek called as The Infinite Game. This game is very interesting. He talks about how we are here for the long run, for a period that doesn't have a start or an end, actually, or maybe not an end. Is it cyclic? Probably. Is it going to be, you know, forever? Maybe until we are here. So this is also growth. We are here for the longer haul, right? Learning comes in different stages, and growth is always about that expansion due to this learning. Learn, you can learn in two different ways. One, it's through your own experience. You make mistakes, you learn. You learn something even without making mistakes. Yes. The way is by learning by looking at somebody else's experience, by somebody else's faults, somebody else's mistake, and you learn how not to make them or how not to be, right? I mean, I don't know how many of you are aware of this phenomenon, or if I can call it by scientific terms, it's called as, birds or growing pains. So it's said that when you're a small kid, right, like from maybe 3 years to about 10, 12 years of age, your growth happens in really great form. And people are able to witness that in greater detail than when you grow, from being a 20-year-old to a 30-year-old, right? This growth is seen, more pronounced. Growing pains generally like area where kids often complain about pain even without having done anything. It's not about games, it's not about playing, it's not about exertion. It's about the body actually growing or becoming bigger. So why I bring this up is to let you know that growing pains is a way of life. Growth is never comfortable. In fact, growth is extremely uncomfortable. The more uncomfort you feel, the bigger probably is the growth, right? So let's welcome growth. Let's welcome changes. Let's welcome these things into our life, which enable us to or us to move greater. You what's a bigger picture? Now, as people of a particular generation where you look at being out there, establishing yourself in a bigger, much better way, and creating that impact that people really sought out to do, you look for what's in it for me on one side, on the other side, right? What is it that I do that fits into the bigger picture? Spoke about meaning. We spoke about being aligned with values or company goals and objectives. We also spoke about having purposeful or purpose driven work. Now, this is what it is. I'm really happy that there are a set of people who are looking at the bigger picture now more than ever before. What do I do that helps this cause? What I do is really a small part or a jigsaw puzzle in this bigger scheme of things. And I'm happy to know that you are looking for that bigger picture. And this is what is going to help you in terms of growth. So, the moment you develop the right attitude to see the bigger picture, your perception to the change in your perception to accept that level, right, of thought or feeling, and the communication that you bring forth in making it happen with respect to your actions or in your thought process. And third, the way you're going to perceive growth and move in that direction is going to enable you to see the picture with ease, right? Now, moving on, should we talk about the one mistake that kills your career growth? Or should we term it a little more positive and say, what is that one thing that is going to take you forward in your career rather than talking about that one mistake that kills your career growth, right? A different way of uh, perceiving things or putting things across, right? There's not one mistake that we all do that kills a career growth. There are several, right? And it's not just about killing a career. It's also about slowing down what we intend to do, what we rather want to manifest in our life, and we really do not up to that level. Is probably because of certain things that happens in our own self, our own mind. There are many times when we really show up to do what we do, or when we probably don't show up as our authentic selves. In my opinion, this is something that really stops us from growing in whatever direction. This stops us from being creative. This stops us from having meaningful and fulfilling career and work, or even, for that matter, even fulfilling life. Now, can we make it a point? Of course, there are days when you don't feel like doing anything, when you don't feel like getting up, getting out of your bed. Happens to everybody. And I think it is on those very specific days that to show up. And it's always going to be a bigger and a different learning curve the day you when you don't want to show up. And this, my dear, is the actual glow up. This, my dear, is the actual leveling up to the next level, to the next stage of life. Show up no matter what. And this is exactly when you can also go out and ask for help. And remember when we spoke of having that, holding that space for people? You can be that for people who show up. And in case you realize that they've shown up, although they really did not want to. Well, moving on. Now I think we've spoken, leaders don't grow in a straight line. Now, this itself is in a curved fashion, right? I always get reminded of this scenario of a river flowing. I love the waves. You know why? Because there's so much that we can learn from it. A river flows sometimes in a very silent manner, sometimes turbulent manner, sometimes in a manner where it just falls from the cliff as waterfalls. And there are other times when it just carves its own path, tributary, washing away everything, all the dirt that's in its path, going over boulders. And the test of time, the test of time, rivers, cause withering of rocks. You all know this. Over a period of time, it is what makes the boulders smoother, makes these huge difficulties or challenges in its path, as the rocks, big or small, immaterial over a period of time. Why is it so fascinating for me? I really wish that I could flow like a river. Sometimes it goes stagnant, dries up. Those are the times that we also experience a kind of a stagnation, right? We have such periods of time, right? And there are times when we go all gushing in. Right? And this is exactly how life should be viewed as. Life should be perceived in this way, where not just careers, nothing goes in a straight line. And when you understand it's not different from your career, not different, your life is nothing that's out of it. Your career is just a subset or a part of your life. You will understand that there are always ups and downs. There's always low, and you keep flowing. Right? So take things as they come by. Remember who you are and keep going. Well, here we come to the end of the session, and I would really like to for this. Just hold on. Okay. So we are at the end of the session, and I would really like to take any questions that come my way. And I'm sure that you understood and enjoyed the session as much as I did. I definitely had a lot of fun, and I would have really had bigger fun if if I had the, all of interacting in a more, different way, not through just session. Um, all right, just hold on 1 second. Let me just reshare this, and I think that you will be able to communicate with me in a better way if you connect with me, right? Well, forgot to mention that I am, currently a placement officer, and I have about 11 plus years of career experience or corporate experience, about 5 plus years of entrepreneurial experience. I am a certified coach. I help people grow into their bigger versions, better versions of themselves. Help Gen Z travel the path to become more belonging, and I hope they feel more belonging at the organizations that they work with. I sensitize the rest of the generations at the workplace in any organization to create that environment where everybody is working synergetically. I take one-to-one coaching. Well, I help people on a team level and organization level to strategize and to bring in more changes for the better. Uh, Please connect with me on LinkedIn. You can follow me on most of the social media and channels like LinkedIn, uh, Insta, and YouTube, or even Anchor or Spotify podcast. I go with the name Bhavna BP, and Let Me Listen is the handle that you will see most places. You will be able to find me there. I'm also a TEDx speaker twice. I have authored about 5 plus books, helped other people publish their books as well on the global forum. I mean, there's so much more that all of us can do together. And that's what I actually believe in. I totally believe that we're all connected, and together we grow. So this is what I truly believe in. And let's stay connected. Let's share a lot of our stories. Let's share the setbacks that we've had along the journey. I can share a lot of stories from my personal account, and what I've learned, what is it that I'm yet to learn, and we can go that way, right? I think now I will be taking a few questions. Let me sit here. Uh, okay, I have a question. I think who's this Suruchi. Okay. The top mistakes freshers make in their first job and how to avoid them. Oh wow. Okay. I mean, it's not about mistakes. It's not just about what freshers make. Everybody makes mistakes along the way, and I think it's about not being clear career or aligning your goals to aligning your values to your goals and that of your team or that of your organization. That clear alignment sometimes doesn't happen, and people fail at that stage. That's probably one of the setbacks that people have, and that's one of the things that you can also avoid and learn from. If there's anything else that I would like to mention, it's also about ignoring the office. You can say no, and you can do that politely, right? Having a cheerful or a positive demeanor at work is something that you can do. So people generally are perceived by these notions and traits, and not doing them would probably be seen as a wrong etiquette or um, wrong mistake. Um, what second one I think is quick tips to build credibility trust at work. Okay, thank you, Adil, for this question. Uh, Tips. Okay. When I'm talking about quick tips, I think the one thing that comes to my mind is consistency, being dependable. showing up again as your authentic self, being that transparent. I mean, these are things that come with us, right, as a flair. And keeping over a period of time, fine tuning them would always keep you abreast with whatever is happening, and take you forward from where we stand. Um, okay. What else? I mean, there's one by Miss Tiwari. Okay. Um, Arna Tiwari. Okay. So this is handling workplace conflicts or misunderstandings effectively. Okay. How do we do this? Well, conflicts are bound to happen at every work. And I hope that it gets reduced over a period of time. But it's human nature to have misunderstandings, because there are two different hearts and two different minds thinking about things. Now, how do you handle this kind of a conflict? If you are the mediator, then the suggestion would be to listen to both parties with an open mind, with an honest, and the other way is, I mean, apart from this, you'll also have to probably talk to both of them one to one and understand what is the story behind whatever the or two parties. I mean, it might not just be two people sometimes, or more than one or several people. And then, I mean, it's all about having open communications and actions which benefit everybody. And it's almost like a truce. You bring in a win-win situation with your with exceptions and unbiased things. I mean, avoiding conflicts is on one side, although sometimes it's not possible. Agreeing to disagree in an amicable way is somewhere where you can try not to bring in those conflicts into picture in the first place. Right. So if you're the one settling things, then I would suggest, you have very calm or stay as calm as possible, even if it's a heightened situation. Then I think being more objective towards solution, being not thinking about the person who's brought in the problem would make you a little less judgmental. Right. Okay. Um, so we have okay, one more question. We have something by Mr. Dhanush. How do we improve communication in terms of emails, meetings, and increase the teamwork in a place? Yeah. I think we've spoken extensively about the communication part. Um, but if I have to talk about communications again, it is about, very concise, extent in terms of certain feedback or follow up that you need to do. um, be clear and to the point. Have an open mind, have an open conversation with. I think that is probably going to. I think a lot of things and things will fall in place by doing so. Um, okay. I think using jargons which are not really understood by most people is something that you either have to give as a training or sensitize the other people in the team, or avoid as much as possible. All right. I think I can take this as a last question before we close this session. Key mindset shifts, smooth campus to corporate transition. We did talk about the mindset shifts. In a way, our growth mindset is something that I was talking about quite often during the session. The other thing is, I think, continuous learning. We are all here to learn. We're all here to expand. We're all here to grow. And continuous learning comes in several ways. You can either learn from people around you, or you can learn through a book, or through a video, through actions, through mistakes, through taking up courses and certifications in whatever means that suits you. But be a learner, be curious, be open to new ideas, thoughts, and feelings, right? Then I think also, in a way, being accountable, being not just being responsible, being accountable for whatever you're dealing with, for whatever you've been asked to deliver, is a way where you can actually have trust and credibility coming your way. In fact, you know what, trust, credibility is something that are your cash coins. That's the money that you play with at your workplace. You develop trust, you develop the kind of credibility through your work uh, that can act as magnets to the kind of growth that you come out with. Okay, guys. I think I can wrap the session now. We've had enough um, you know, knowledge, me and you, through the session. And I would love to see you either in person or through different channels when you connect with me. And I would love to have more such conversations with you. Thank you all. Thank you, Naukri Campus.